Hi everybody, it's Brooke from Quigencia, and in this video I will show you how you can add a trailing stop to a pre-existing point-and-click strategy for NinjaTrader without code in Quigencia N Edition. The logic we will create will look like this, where we will have a trailing stop for the entire position based on a percent, and the calculation value will be based on an input parameter called trailing stop percent, which will be a decimal value where 0.08 would be an 8% trailing stop and 0.09 would be a 9% trailing stop. Furthermore, since this trailing stop is only being set if a use trailing stop input parameter is set to true by virtue of its checkbox being checked in NinjaTrader, this allows us to turn the trailing stop on and off in a backtest and on live charts. And since the NinjaTrader optimizer supports optimizing over Boolean input parameters, this will make it possible to run optimizations where half of the backtest runs use trailing stops and half do not. Let's go ahead and add this logic to a copy of this strategy called Bollinger Bands long entry on breakout above upper band. To make a copy of this strategy, click on it and choose Create New Strategy from Copy of this strategy. Give it a name. We will say My Bollinger Bands long entry on breakout above upper band, and we will say with trailing stop. And then for the name of the folder and the file on disk and the name of the strategy in NinjaTrader, we will say My Bull Band LE on BO above upper band, and we'll say W trail stop. Scrolling down, we know we have to add two input parameters to this section. And just so that we can refer to the logic that has it, let's go ahead and move that strategy to the right by clicking the gear icon in its tab and choosing Move this Algos tab to the tab group in column 2 of the upper row. So now we have the strategy with the logic on the right and the strategy we're going to add it to on the left. I'm going to go ahead and move this splitter bar over and hide the Algo Explorer so we have more room. Great. So let's go ahead and here's the strategy we're going to copy. So we're going to scroll down, and its input parameters, it has 4, and the one over here only has 2. So let's go ahead and add the use trailing stop input parameter, which is a Boolean with a default of true. We're going to copy this phrase and paste it here, and we're going to choose a data type of Boolean, and it will default to true. And then to copy the trailing stop percent input parameter, which is a decimal number with a default value of 4%, we're going to copy this over here. It's decimal number, and we'll have a default of 0.04. And add the parameter, and that's it. So the only thing left is to emulate this here. So go ahead and click on the Add Trading Logic link in the Money Management section, and we need to add an if block. So conditional trading logic if block. And it's if the use trailing stop input parameter is equal to true. Then what do? We click on the Add Trading Logic link, and under Money Management, we have choices like adding stop loss orders, trailing stops, and profit targets. In this case, we're going to go to the Trailing Stops folder and choose Set Trailing Stop for Entire Position, just like it was over here. And then finally, The calculation value should be the trailing stop percent input parameter. So click on this hard-coded 0.08. Click on the gear icon and choose Replace Item, Input Parameters, and Trailing Stop Percent Input Parameter. And we're done. Let's go ahead and save this to our MyAlgos folder. So for that, let's go ahead and show the MyAlgo folder. I'm going to go ahead and move the splitter bar over again. So we're going to save our copy of the built-in strategy. We're going to save it to the MyAlgos folder down here. So let's go ahead and either press Control S or this save icon. And yeah, my bull band, trailing stop. So we're going to save it to the MyAlgos folder. And there it is. The My Bollinger Band's long entry on breakout above upper band with trailing stop. So now it's ready to be tested in NinjaTrader. So before we send it to NinjaTrader, let's go ahead and open NinjaTrader and open the NinjaScript editor. If you don't have the NinjaScript editor open, the code will not automatically compile. So we are now ready to send the strategy to NinjaTrader by clicking this button called Generate Code and Copy Code File to NinjaTrader Strategy Code Folder. And you will hear the sound of success. There it is. And now we're ready to backtest and optimize this strategy we just made. So to backtest it, go to Strategy Analyzer. And let's click on Q My Bull Band LE on BO above upper band with trail stop. And let me just make sure that I've connected to the Kinetic market data feed. Yep. Our strategy will use a Bollinger Band period of 26. That is the period of the moving average upon which the Bollinger Bands are based. We'll use a Bull Band number of standard deviations of 2, so the upper and lower bands will be 2 standard deviations away from the middle line. Here is our use trailing stop input parameter that can be true or false by checking or unchecking the checkbox. And by default it is checked, so we will use a trailing stop by default. And the trailing stop percent, we will use a 4% trailing stop for this backtest. Let's choose an instrument of GLD and daily bars. We'll go back to 2005. And everything else looks good, including a slippage of 2 ticks and an exit on session close of false. So let's run the backtest. It's done. We have a profit factor of 1.78. Let's take a look at a chart. So right away, the last trade on the chart shows a close crossing above the upper band of the Bollinger Bands indicator and a market order being placed and filled on the open of the bar after the breach bar. And the market went down, and when the close price crossed below the middle line of the Bollinger Band, a market order was placed and filled on the open of the next bar in the backtest. So this is an example where a tighter trailing stop would have helped us, but instead we exited on the breach of the middle line of the Bollinger Band. Let's find a good example where a trailing stop helped us. Well, in this case, coincidentally, the trailing stop was coincident with the cross below, so it's not a very good instructive example. See, we had a trailing stop exit, but it also crossed below, so we would have exited on a market order on the next bar anyway. It's pretty close as far as which one's better or worse. this is a great example. So in this example, a trailing stop really helped us. The close price crossed above the upper band of the Bollinger Bands indicator, and it filled a market order on the next bar. The market went up and then down. It went up, and then when the market went down by 4% because of our 4% trailing stop, it exited. Instead of us exiting our position on the first close price breach below the middle band of the Bollinger Bands indicator, which is right here, this is where a market order would have been placed and filled on the open of the next bar here, instead of being filled way up here by our trailing stop. So this is an example where a trailing stop helped us significantly. Now let's run an optimization on the strategy. To do that, go to Backtest Type, Optimization. We will optimize Bollinger Band period from 12 to 60 and optimize Bollinger Band number of standard deviations from 1.5 to 2.5 in increments of 0.1. And for trailing stop percent, let's optimize it from 2% to 20% in increments of 1%. And finally, NinjaTrader allows Boolean input parameters such as use trailing stop to be optimized, so we don't need to run all of the backtest runs with trailing stops or all without. We can click this choice and choose optimize so that half of the optimization runs will be with trailing stops and half without, so we can see if trailing stops generally helped our strategy or generally hurt it. All right, so let's run the optimization. So in a little over 2.5 minutes, NinjaTrader ran over 20,000 backtests. I sped that up so you wouldn't have to watch it. And let's take a look at the results. So of our 20,000 backtests, we had the top 10. They all had a value of true for the use trailing stop. So you can see that tooltip there. It shows you what each thing means. So 55 means bull band period, 2.5 is the number of standard deviations, and the true indicates that used trailing stop was true, and the 0.02 was the trailing stop percent of 2%. So the best results had a very tight trailing stop between 2 and 3%. They all had trailing stops, and the top 10 best standard deviations in combination with the others was between 2.4 and 2.5 standard deviations. And finally, the moving average upon which the Bollinger Bands were based, the top 10 results were in the 50s and 60s. So I'm not going to analyze the optimization results further. The purpose of this video was to show you how you can create a trailing stop in a point-and-click strategy for NinjaTrader without coding Quagensia N Edition, and how you can use a Boolean input parameter, such as use trailing stop, that will allow you to turn the trailing stop on and off, not only in backtests and on live charts, but also in optimizations as well. And you probably already guessed this, but the same kind of logic we did here to create a trailing stop that can be turned on and off can be applied to stop losses, profit targets, and time stops as well. So if you want to see how to add a stop loss that can be turned on and off, you can open up this strategy titled Bollinger Bands Long Entry on Breakout Above Upper Band with Stop Loss. Scroll down to its money management section. And here you'll see the same kind of logic we just made. Use stop loss. If it's equal to true, then set a stop loss instead of a trailing stop. If you want to see an example of a profit target that can be turned on and off, you can click on this strategy, moving average crossover, long short reversal with profit target, and open it. And in its money management section, you will see logic where if a use profit target input parameter is set to true, then set a profit target. And if you want to learn how to add a time stop based on a specified number of bars that you can turn on or off to a strategy, you can open up this strategy called Bollinger Bands Long Entry on Breakout Above Upper Band with Time Stop. And this one's a little more complicated because rather than adding the logic to the money management section as you would do for a profit target, trailing stop, or stop loss, you will add it to the WinBar update section, which executes every bar close or every tick. So here's the entry condition that we had for our Bollinger Bands. And here's the exit condition where we add one. So just like in the strategy upon which this video was based, we are still exiting if the close crosses below the middle line of the Bollinger Band, but we will also exit if use time stop is set to true by its checkbox being checked in the NinjaTrader user interface, and if the bar's sense entry for the signal named LE is greater than or equal to another input parameter called number of bars to be long. So now you've seen one example each of how to add a stop loss, trailing stop, profit target, and time stop to your strategies, and how you can turn them on or off by adding a simple Boolean true or false input parameter that appears as a checkbox in the NinjaTrader user interface. This video only scratches the surface of the kinds of money management techniques you can add to your strategies without code in Quagency N-Edition. If you would like to learn about significantly more complicated, interesting money management techniques, I recommend that you go to a web page on the Quagencia.com website that you can access by opening this strategy called Bollinger Bands Long Entry on Breakout Above Upper Band with Stop Loss, scrolling down to its money management section, and copying the URL in the comment in code that will send you to an article titled How to Add Money Management Logic to Your Strategies in Quagency N-Edition. So we're going to copy that, paste it into a browser, and from there you can check out some related articles, and you can read the article that will answer some of the more complicated questions you may have. And that's it. That's the end of our video. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please let us know by giving this video a like and subscribing to our channel. And if you loved it, please consider sharing this video. Have a great day.